Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Buckeye Roundtables. We break down the second-ranked Ohio State football team and their big game, that night game with fifth-ranked Notre Dame. Hello, everyone. I'm Dom Tiberi, and we are joined by our Dave Holmes and Adam King of 10 TV, along with Timmy Hall and former Ohio State football player DeVere Posey. Timmy, Notre Dame is coached by a former Buckeye, Marcus Freeman, who played linebacker. He also brought along with him his best friend, and James Laurinaitis.
Yeah.
How weird will it be for those two guys when they come out on the field Saturday and they're trying to beat the team that they grew up loving, that they played for? And Timmy, I've heard some people saying some stuff, how hard. It ain't going to be hard. They want to beat Ohio State. They want to make it a long night for Ohio State, right?
Yeah, of course they do. I mean, and I'll be curious to hear DeVere's take on this too, because I live in this fantasy world where I try to get in the minds of these players and wonder what that could be like, because it is, to me, one of the more fascinating storylines. I mean, you've got the fact that Marcus Freeman is the head coach at Notre Dame at this young age. What an incredible job. It's why it was so curious to hear him try to nitpick at, was I happiest going to Ohio State, or I sure wish I would have gone to Notre Dame back then? Because I'm a big believer that every step Marcus Freeman took in his life, it had to happen this same way for him to become the head coach of Notre Dame football. And that's incredible. And then for James, who, let's be honest, I mean, this guy is one of the best college football players of all time. He is on a fast track to becoming not just a graduate assistant. It's kind of crazy to think of James Laurinaitis as only a grad assistant, but he's out there hands-on, helping their defense, showing them how to tackle. So I think it's an incredible storyline. If it were me, I would have tons of emotions if I were either of those guys, spending a lot of my, youth, my college years, the best years in our lives, right? And then to go back in there as the opponent, man, that would be something.
And you know what? They keep saying, oh, James is just a GA. Not on this game. On this game, he's got his fingers. He
could be the defensive coordinator for all I care. Yeah. I mean, he's James Laurinaitis, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Adam, as a coach, you're always looking for an advantage. And the advantage here, I would think, that Marcus is trying to use is Al Washington Jr. Last 2-3 years was on the staff at Ohio State. Now he's at Notre Dame. How big of a deal is that?
Well, I'm just going to adjust my chair.
Yeah, when you do that, I'm like, man, I look down.
Hopefully Notre Dame's defense
sinks
like that chair.
Sit down here. So Al Washington played, coach for the Buckeyes the last couple seasons, and they asked Ryan Day about that. How worried are you about signals and all of that? I think in most years you'd be a little worried. I mean, that's somebody who's seen the inside scope of your defense. But the good thing is this is a brand new defense. Everything about this defense is new. I don't think Al Washington will know much more than you or I would from watching Jim Knowles' film. Now, if it hadn't been Knowles there'd be a concern. Obviously, he has a feel for the program. He has a feel for, what this defense wants to do overarching, but that's nothing that you can't get from just talking with the defense. They want to play fast. They want to, hit hard. They want to be physical. But I don't think that, maybe they have to change a couple signs from plays that have stuck around for the last 5 years. But really, with this brand new defense, I can't imagine it hurts them that much.
All right, DeVere, I think we can agree the strength of this Notre Dame football team would be their defense. Marcus Freeman is a defensive guy. James Laurinaitis, defensive guy. Al Washington, defensive guy. With that said, is that really the biggest chance Notre Dame has in this game to try and win this game with their defense? Can the defense be the difference? And can the defense, do they have enough in the tank to slow down this high-powered Ohio State offense? Is that what they're thinking?
Honestly, Dom, I think they have no chance. And I'm not trying to, pump up the Buckeyes, but I believe we're looking at, and we're going to get our first glimpse at the #1 offense in the country. Obviously, a potential Heisman, potential first-round pick, potential Biletnikoff winner, potential All-Big Ten receiver with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trevion Henderson, holding up to Doak Walker later this year. I believe their best chance is time of possession, and maybe stealing a possession with special teams. I honestly expect a trick play.
Well, their defense is, Notre Dame's is, bend, don't break. That's their whole philosophy.
Yes, they will be broken. And it's just because C.J. Stroud's ability to grow this summer under Jim Knowles' defense now, Jim Knowles doesn't just stand back and let you come at it. He has an aggressive defense where the safeties are moving, the D-line they're doing stunts, and just being able to read and make it a numbers game. C.J. Stroud took some strides this year, and I just believe that ability will be able to be on display on Saturday. And throw what you want at that guy. I just believe, he'll make do.
I do like the insight, Dave, he just gave, because, they've talked about it all camp, how they were going up against this defense and Jim Knowles' defense. And you would think, the old joke was when Woody was here, the best games were played in practice. And, you look at these two, offense and defense, and they're going up against each other. I would think that would make them better. But my question for you is, how angry is this Ohio State defense? Because really, they're the ones that had to hear that they were pushed around, that they're not physical, that they couldn't stop Michigan. And forget about Oregon, folks. Oregon got lucky on one day. But we saw their true colors at the end. What I'm talking about is Michigan really manhandled Ohio State and their defense, and those kids have had to live with that. And that's hard to live with in Columbus, Ohio. That happened, and then for that team up there to run their mouth, and DeVere knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. That is motivation. Thank you, Jim Harbaugh, and whatever, because these guys are going to be. I would think the defense is going to want to just bring it on Saturday.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack from that filibuster. I'm going to start with Oregon. I will forgive but not forget, because I think that was relevant. They pushed them around the same way Michigan pushed them around. And who's really lucky that C.J. Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jigba went all-world in the Rose Bowl is that Ohio State defense, which got beat up decently. Now, they were much better in the second half. And they also started a tight end and a running back and linebacker, but that's neither here nor there. So I think they're better personnel-wise this year. But you're right. I mean, they've heard that they were soft and they weren't tough enough. I mean, this is gut check time. You got a new coordinator. You have another year of experience. The excuses are done. I mean, you cannot be that defense. And you don't have to be top 5 like Jim Knowles says or top 10 like Ryan Day wants. You can be top 30. And that's going to get you in the national championship picture.
That's it?
You don't have to be elite with this offense.
You don't agree?
You don't have to be elite.
I don't agree that
they can give
bar should even be close to that.
No.
The money.
He's saying that they could do that and still win.
Thank you, Adam.
And I completely agree.
I'm not disputing that.
I did. My chair might not be tall, but I can still hear.
I did listen.
I didn't say what the bar is.
Top 30.
I said what they need. If they're top 30, that's good enough. Now, they should be better given the personnel with JTD and Jack Sawyer and Zach Harrison. They should be top 10 to 15.
Do you think they will be?
I think they will be. Yeah, I think they will be. They don't need to be, is my point. So if they're just marginally better, that's going to be good enough. And if they're a lot better, then they're the best team in the country.
And by goodness, as we're sitting here, if we're going to talk about filibusters, this gentleman right here actually put on the scarlet and gray.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't want to hear that team up north running their mouth, and that's motivation, isn't it? That's my point.
I don't even know what's going on up there. He said he made a decision with his quarterback, and he doesn't. Who knows what's going on? Then he said it was a biblical decision.
Oh, biblical.
Yeah, we'll leave that later for this year.
They ran their mouths. That's
Devere,
right.
I heard you were born on third base.
Who, me?
Oh,
man.
I promise you this much.
What base were you born on?
Mark this down, Timmy Hall. They're not playing this year's Ohio State-Michigan game on third base. It's in the shoe, okay? But that's neither here nor there. Sorry about the filibuster. That's right. I feel like I'm next to two senators.
The disrespect to Oregon, too.
I've never met someone who hates Oregon as much as this man.
Come on, they gave us Nike. Don't you like them a little bit?
The Lucky Ducks.
Yeah, he can't stand the Ducks.
I like that one, Adam.
Guys, great stuff. And keep it on 10 TV, 97.1 The Fan for all your Buckeye football needs.